Hello and a very warm welcome to the Internet of Things Made Simple. I'm Larry by Humor. This is the 6th episode to our 2nd season, and I thank you for joining us. We've had a constant march up in our numbers, so welcome to any first-time listeners. If you are new to IoT, our webpage has an increasing amount of material for you to look at. Blogs, podcasts, ebooks, and much more. We also post our podcast there a couple hours early, so if you're a sneak peek kind of person, why not check it out at the internetofThingsMadeSimple.com. Most of you listen to podcasts via your favorite podcast service. If that's you, I would ask you to subscribe to this podcast using that said service. And if that service allows you to leave a comment or a review, kindly do so. In this episode, we ask an ever-pressing question. Does size matter? First, take your mind out of the gutter. This is a family show. We're talking about the size of IoT devices. For the most part, when new technologies come out, they tend to be the biggest they're ever going to be. I mean, look at the size of computers when they hit the market. They took up rooms. Now you can get all that computing power and then some on the latest smartphone. The same goes for most technologies, except maybe TV screens, where bigger was the goal. But even then, the increase in technology allowed them to make it thinner than that floor model we had growing up that took up half of our room. In IoT, many devices have also gotten smaller. For this episode, we're going to focus on the size of tracking devices and those used in mobile environments. Several technology improvements have shrunk the size of the product, increasing its available uses. We're going to cover what some of those technology breakthroughs were that allowed this to happen, why the size of the device even matters, and some of the new markets and applications that are benefiting from this change. To kick things off, let's look at some of the technology breakthroughs that has allowed this to happen. The first is the size of the components involved. My business partner, Richard Hobbs, often talks about the size and complexity of the original GPS modules. To say the least, they were much more expensive and, more importantly here, bigger than the small component sizes that they have today. The ever-shrinking size of the board components helps to reduce both the size and the complexity, something that we'll cover a bit more in a second, of the units. The second part that is involved is the connectivity side. The original cellular networks used were cutting edge then, but they're very limiting compared to now. They were designed to be used mostly with phones, so they were not optimized for low bandwidth transmissions, like bits and bytes that are sent when you are tracking something. This meant they used a lot of power to do simple work, and that the battery life was not optimal. Developers had two options: have a short battery life, or use a huge battery. Today's cellular networks, like Cat-M and NB-IoT, which we've covered extensively in Season 1, are optimized for short burst, small packet data transmissions and allow the battery to last much longer. This means that a smaller battery will often do, shrinking the size of the unit. Okay, so devices have gotten smaller. Why does this even matter? As one might expect, a smaller device increases the flexibility of where and when it can be used. Traditionally, GPS-based tracking was confined to either short-term deliveries, if a battery was being used, infrequent updates, so only knowing where something is every few hours or every day, or it was powered by a constant power source, like from the battery of a vehicle. The combination of technologies that allows the size of the device to be reduced now increases that flexibility. By being smaller, it can simply fit into more spaces. So you can track a shipment of items using a tracker that you can hold in your hand. As a side effect, simpler devices also cost less. So it's going to offer a better return on investment to track an item than ever before. In the past, a tracker was only used to locate high-value items, like that proverbial bag of diamonds. Lower-cost technologies now allow it to track items like skids, toolboxes, and garbage cans, and to make financial sense in doing so. And I suspect that the march towards lower cost and smaller trackers will not slow down. Technologies like Cat-M and NB-IoT are going to further drive down ongoing costs for tracking mobile assets, while stationary-focused technologies like LoRa and Sigfox will drive down the cost for monitoring stationary items. This may include tracking the status of items at a construction site, like a porta-potty or metal fence, and we've talked about this in the past. So to recap, does size matter when it comes to tracking devices? It absolutely does. Does it matter in other areas of life? Well, I'll leave that up to you to decide. As always, many thanks for taking time to listen to this podcast. We know you have other things to listen to. I've got a bunch on my device, so Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to hearing your feedback about this or any other episode. As I've mentioned before, if you have an idea for a show, please reach out to us and we'll drop your name to say thanks. The best place to start is always our Facebook page, The Internet of Things Made Simple. If I'm connected to you on LinkedIn, drop me a note through that service. And if we're personally connected on an email or text, send me one of those. Talk to you soon. I'm Larry Boy Humor. Take care.